Hi guys, and welcome back to another Vault, the safe place for paranormal evidence with me, G. Good to see you all. A couple of things that I have to point out first, if they aren't completely obvious, and you'll notice that I'm not in the vault. Well, I've always said that the cabin at the bottom of my garden is the secret entrance to the tunnels that lead underground to the vault. And so in the summer months when it's warm, I like to film up here. And in the winter months when it's cold, I like to be underground where it's warm and film down in the vault. Either that or green screen is a real time stealer, and it's better for me to slam out more vaults and better and more content and film up here in my cabin. So that's that one. And then second of all, gone completely blank, can't remember. Second of all, I've just remembered and just forgotten again. I'm just kidding. Of course I remember. So what it was basically, if you haven't seen it already, Bigfoot, the best of the best special. I managed to film that on location. Been a lot of stuff on the channel, certainly from me, about Bigfoot and Sasquatch lately. And I'll explain in a minute why I'm not going to be talking about Bigfoot or Sasquatch for the next month or so. So on the last thing on the subject that I just wanted to quickly share, I'll put a link in the description, but Thinker Thunker recently shared a video which you all need to check out. If there's anybody out there who kind of is still suspect of the Patterson-Gimlin footage, or still in doubt that Bigfoot or Sasquatch is potentially real in some sort of form, go and check this video out, because Thinker Thunker is basically a body mechanics expert. That's what he did as a career even before he started YouTube. And in this video, he uses real up-to-date technology to look at a freeze frame of the face and the head of the creature, Patty, in the Patterson-Gimlin footage, and basically makes a model of what it would look like without hair. And it's really, really interesting. So go and check that out. And that is the last thing I'm going to be saying about Bigfoot and Sasquatch for a little while anyway. And that is because June, the whole month of June, is going to be a month dedicated to UFOs, UAPs, USOs, aliens, abductions, anything related to that subject matter all month. If you checked out the last Monte Zone live stream where we had the live tarot card reading, which was very cool, so if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. But in that episode we were talking about how the live stream for the end of June is us going to be going down the rabbit hole and discussing all of the information and revelations that are coming from the hearings in the U.S. in Congress, and all the stuff that the military are revealing that they can't explain, and what that means for the future and where things are going forward. Now, as we go throughout the month, the G-Star Vaults will be like this one, about the UFO, UAP and USO phenomenon. And I'll also be doing an episode at some point about, well, I'm going to entitle it Bob Lazar versus the Pentagon. So that might be a bit interesting. That might already start getting you thinking, that title, Bob Lazar versus the Pentagon. So that's going to be a discussion on my viewpoints on both of those areas. And then all the story times this month will be about stories from real life. May even go back to the Men in Black, like a kind of Men in Black Part 2, because that seems to have been popular. A lot of you guys have liked the Men in Black story time, as you have certainly the Adamski story Part 1 and Part 2. So maybe I'll do something around someone in history that has been significant in the history of ufology. Who knows? But all this month of June is going to be about that subject matter, so something to look forward to. Right, let's get on with what we came here for, and that was to watch some footage on UFOs and UAPs, right? So let's crack on with it. And the first bit of footage, well, I've got to give you a bit of a backstory. I'm really sorry, but Mickey Early, who is a member, I want to say a part of the family really of the Vault, because he's been with us from the very beginning, but he's shared a few things with me in the past which I've featured on Vaults or on the Monte Zones. And what was weird was he shared a video with me the other night that he's come across online, and just as he shared that with me, just before that, I was looking at a similar piece of footage. Both pieces of footage involve aeroplanes and aircraft of some sort, and then UFOs or UAPs, whichever you prefer. And so it was really weird, and both pieces of footage are really, really interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the one that I was looking at and give my analysis, but let's first of all go and watch it. Yeah, so see you in a minute. Right, let's dissect this one. So, let's start with all the naysayers and hardened skeptics out there that are instantly going to say things like, this is a seagull, or this is an insect that's flying across the camera screen. And that might be the case, right? Well, hardly unlikely, unless the seagull can fly several hundred miles an hour. And so let's deal with that insect one. And that insect theory. So, a while back I shared a bit of footage that was filmed from a drone, and Monty sort of assigned to this sort of thing with Corridor Crew. Now, if you haven't heard of Corridor Crew, they are a bunch of guys, special effects experts that come together and dissect and break down all sorts of different types of footage from all areas of phenomena, but also UFO. And so on that particular footage, they were very passionate about the fact that it was an insect, and Monty was in agreement with them. So let's take that piece of footage and let's slow it down by half like we see in this footage and see how slow that insect looks. Pretty slow, right? I mean, you can make it out pretty clearly, but let's go back to the footage that I'm sharing today, and this one is basically already at slow motion, and the thing seems hard to track with the eye. Now, I should have said earlier that this footage was filmed in Miami, and where I found it, it was shared on May 28th of this year, 2022. So that was only a few days ago, and already I found some bits out there that are quite interesting. So I don't think this was actually filmed on the 28th of May 2022. There's still a bit of a question mark against the date for me, but apparently the location is Miami, and this was a military aircraft that was returning from the Miami Air Show back to base, obviously, and that's why it's doing a slow pass over this beach area, and it is going slower than obviously what its top speed would be, but I still would say that it's traveling at several hundred miles an hour. You kind of don't get that impression because the footage keeps slowing down, right? And I've also slowed it down a little bit just so that it can help you see that object. But if you watch the original speed at the very beginning part of the footage, you'll see that it's likely still traveling several hundred miles an hour. Now, going back to the Corridor Crew guys, and what they would likely say about this, and they would probably say special effects, and that did kind of cross my mind. I'm going to be honest, when I originally saw this footage, one of the things that I was honing in on is the people in the water, and I thought maybe it was somebody throwing something. But then when I kept watching the footage and seeing how high the object seems to go in the skyline, I was thinking, well, that would have been a pretty difficult throw for a human. But it did make me hone into where the object originates from. And my technology that I have available to me could only zoom in so far, and I wasn't getting the best detail, but I was getting enough clarity because I did this scrubbing, which I'm sharing now in the background. I did this scrubbing, and you can sort of see that the object starts from, or seems to come from, the water and then upwards. So right now we are possibly looking at a UFO, UAP and USO, as in terms of unidentified submersible object. So but then my research found this. Now, I don't know about you guys, but there's parts of that footage where I'm seeing whatever it is meant to be on the screen going into a cube shape, going into a pyramid shape. It is pretty darn interesting. And you clearly see it submerged from the water. And so, actually, this enhancement makes me think more so that it might be CGI. And I can't help but feel bad about that, because maybe I'm falling into the trap of a lot of people and points that I've argued in the past, where sometimes now, if it's too good to be true, we just instantly say special effects, when actually it could just be too good to be true. But this is really interesting, and again, it's an object caught with military craft, but everybody in the world right now who knows what's going on in the world of UFO, UAPs, kind of knows that anyway. So if somebody wanted to play around with some footage and have a good time, and be a little bit of a trickster with everybody, that would be the way to go right now, because people are kind of convinced at seeing these objects around military vehicles, whether that be aircraft or aircraft carriers or ships or submarines or even nuclear bases or military bases. So it's a good way to go if you want to trick. I don't know about this one, but I don't think it's as easy as just looking at it and saying it's an insect on the screen, or it is a seagull or something like that. It is something more, and that something more, I'm not a special effects expert. Maybe the guys in Corridor Crew will get hold of this one and give their breakdown. Who knows, but let me know your thoughts in comments. Let's get on to the footage that Mickey shared with me. Hey peoples, so pretty good piece of footage, two good pieces of footage so far in this video, and thank you again Mickey for sharing this one. And this one was coming from Argentina apparently, if you believe what you read on the screen. As much as I love this footage, and as much as I will give props to TikTok, I am getting a little bit sick of trying to manipulate these portrait videos. I feel half blind, but anyway, moving on from that. This one definitely, because it's the pilot in the cockpit filming, so insect or something like that in front of the screen. I mean, a bird would have to be in the cockpit with him for it to be that size on the screen. So I don't think it's that. I definitely don't think it's something explainable, again, that's like within the normal aerial phenomenon bracket, so as in a bird or a drone, unless there's two different sized drones flying about at high velocity. And again, when we talk about drones, there are some drones that I think now there's some military drones out there that can go something ridiculous like 21,000 kilometers per hour. However, that is very rare, and that's obviously for military purposes. However, who knows what's going on or what the Argentinian army are testing around that area. Who knows? But it's weird that they're different shapes. One definitely looks very saucer shape, and then one is the one that interests me, the smaller one. It almost looks rectangular, and if you guys remember, if you follow us here on the Vault, you will know that I did a video about, I think the footage was from Minnesota, and it was called WTF jaw-dropping footage or something like that, or jaw-dropping UFO footage. Anyway, that was rectangular in shape, and then I also did an update on that because there was some footage in the UK that looked very similar, very rectangular in shape again, and this one almost looks square, this smaller one, whereas the other one looks either, depending on what angle you're looking at it, cigar shaped or saucer shaped. Now, could this be CGI? Well, again, it would be easy enough for somebody to do this via CGI if they wanted to go to the effort and if they knew what they were doing. And again, I'm not enough of an expert to 100% say it's definitely not. But when you see the slow motion, I think that's where there's some interest for me, because a lot of genuine UFO shares that I assign to, usually there's less kind of razzmatazz with the object, so not a lot of lights and all crazy stuff going on, just very, very basic kind of almost pieces of iron that look like they're flying about in the sky. So I don't know what I'm talking about now, but let's go with it. Pieces of iron flying around in the sky, but you get what I mean. They're kind of grey, very simplistic, not a lot of glitz and glamour and lights and stuff going on, and that's kind of what these things are. So I kind of think this is interesting, and again, as always, let me know what you think in comments. But yeah, I kind of like this one, and it will go definitely in the vault for me. So next, I am going to share another piece of footage with you that we ran out of time on the last Monte Zone live stream in May. We ran a bit short of time because I had to get to bed, and so I didn't get to play this footage. And this was some footage that originally was shared to me by Daniel Godwin, but it's about some objects that got caught on camera over Plymouth, my home city. So I'm not gonna give you guys my comments on this one. I may go back to it either in the live stream that we're doing at the end of June, which is all about the UFO phenomenon, and or I will talk about it in another vault. But you can certainly put your comments and get that conversation discussion started by giving me your thoughts in comments. Now, I did say at the beginning of this video that I wouldn't be talking about Bigfoot for quite some time. Well, I kind of told a little white lie. Tuesday, June 14th, I will be doing a standalone live G-Star Vault, which is Q&A around Bigfoot and Sasquatch. It's a whole section that was in my special that I had to cut out. So I want to invite you guys along to a live stream where you can ask me any questions that you want answers to, whether that be about my feelings or beliefs or what I know about the subject on Bigfoot and Sasquatch, or if you want to do any questions about any phenomenon that we cover here at the Vault, whether that be ufology or other areas of cryptozoology or hauntings and ghosts, come along and join me on Tuesday the 14th, or else I'll be sat there talking to myself, so please come along to that. Anyway, as I get this footage started, I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's quite long. What I will do is give you a taster and a feeler for this footage, which I think is pretty darn good, and the young gent seems pretty credible. Go over to his channel Dark Matters and give him a bit of a like and a subscribe. That would be awesome. But I'll put a link in the description to the full video if you want to check it out. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, enjoy this, and I'll see you next time on G-Star Vault.
Okay, so here we are visiting some footage from May 2020 when I was just practicing upstairs with some of the new time-lapse software and happened to spot something out of the window. So sadly, unfortunately, I was messing around with a half-broken GorillaPod, not a decent tripod, and I couldn't open the window. So behind the reflection, as you can see, this was generally where I was pointing when I noticed a couple of objects come over the roof, and I tried to drop everything and record as much as possible. Unfortunately, I was tinkering with time-lapse and I didn't have time to basically get everything back to normal because I knew that these objects were moving quickly, relatively, and I was going to just miss the shot within a minute or two. So here they are, two of them at least. You can see the sun's setting, so it's probably lit these more than normal. Unfortunately, this is all I actually recorded in video. We're going to need to slow that down. Here at 8% speed, you can see two of the objects. And here again at 2% speed, you can see them. One moving parallel to me and two heading off in a southerly direction.